Bienvenidos a Drums en Español, como siempre les saludo a Agosto. En el episodio de hoy tenemos una súper entrevista al baterista y youtuber David Rauf, también conocido como RDAVIDR. Vamos a hablar de lo que es crecer una carrera en YouTube, cómo crecer tu audiencia, cómo hacer tu contenido bien particular sobre las cosas que te gustan. En el caso de él habla de cómo modificar baterías, cómo modificar platillos y todo eso. También vamos a hablar de endorsements y por qué son importantes y cuándo no son importantes y muchas otras cosas. Recuerda que puedes seguirnos en todas las redes sociales, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, @Drums en Español. Ayudaría mucho si le das like, te suscribes, le das a las campanitas y compartes este contenido para que mucha gente más lo encuentre. Y así comenzamos esta entrevista con RDAVIDR. I know it's been quite a few months trying to get this together.
Yeah,
so I appreciate your patience.
Of course, and thanks for having me, and thanks for being patient with me and my schedule.
Yeah. Let's start by something very, very important. I dig your beard.
Thank you. You got a good one too.
Yeah, we're working on this.
Yeah, and I like the bald look too, because when I first was able to grow a beard, I was like, dude, you look like a badass, and like, that's sweet. I'm like, oh yeah, just wait. And then I like shaved my head and had like tiny little buzz cut, and I was like what?
Well, the reason why I started growing a beard is I just mentioned I started teaching in New York City. I was like maybe 24, and I had students that were 6'3", 6'4", and I needed something that made me look different than them.
Right.
So I figured the only thing that I can have that they don't is a beard.
Yeah. No, there you go.
I stick with it.
Nice. Yeah. No. The beard culture, it's like blown up in the past couple of years, and I don't know, some of the stuff is kind of weird, but I don't know, it's still cool, I guess.
It can also be a very expensive hobby, because when you see all those beard products and combs, and if you go to a specific barber shop that does like the beard work, that can get pricey.
Yeah. I honestly don't even do anything with mine. I mean, I wash it, of course, but like the oil and the balm and the wax and this and that, I'm like, I'm good. This is all right.
For a minute, I have one of those wooden oiled combs. They didn't do anything. So
right, yeah. It's like I got this regular plastic comb. This will work.
Yep. The one that scratches your skin, that one.
Yeah.
All right, man. So tell me, let's start by your last video. So it came out yesterday. We're recording this on Sunday, September 13th. The tuning video. I mean, you come with the craziest ideas sometimes. Feel versus ear. Hit me up with that.
Yeah, it was sounds like a drum. They talked about, just above wrinkle tuning, where you're
cool guys. They're here in Brooklyn. They're great guys. I know them both.
Yeah, my sister actually lives in Manhattan, so I visit her occasionally. I met with them, so they're super cool guys. But yeah,
no, they're great. They're great guys.
Yeah,
next time you're in New York, drinks on me. Yeah,
for sure. I'll hit you up. But yeah, I was watching that video, and they're talking about like that, technique. I was like, okay, that's a good way to get that sound, but would I be able to get my sound just by feel? And again, the whole thing with everyone saying, well, I tune by feel, which obviously they hear it when they say that, they go off of the feel of the tension rod as far as tension goes. So it was just like a fun experiment, really. So I mean, I probably won't ever do it again, but a lot of people seem to enjoy the tuning of it without me hearing it, which, I mean, I could see it's super low and thuddy, but at the same time, I thought it would be like super high. I was like tightening them up, like, man, this is going to be like so tight and sound horrible. But then I played them and like, oh, all right, this is halfway decent.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is that you went somewhat clinical, having two identical drum sets doing the experiment. But also what I got from the video is that feel is not just like feel with your hands, it's feel with your ears and your hand. It's like a combination. One doesn't live without the other.
Definitely. Yeah.
Sweet, sweet. So let me ask you this. You came into my radar years ago, like maybe with the 10 drum hacks.
Uh-huh.
So what are we talking, 4 or 5 years ago, give or take?
Yeah, it was probably more than that, but yeah.
And at that time, I started getting into like the Jimmy DiRestas of the world.
Yeah.
And I saw that crossing going on. And for those of you who don't know who's Jimmy DiResta, has nothing to do with drums. He's a maker. He's a New Yorker. Go check him out, Jimmy DiResta.
Yeah, no, Jimmy is a incredible human being. Definitely check him out.
I'm dying to go to his shop.
Right?
What's going on here? My bad.
Oh,
I'm right next to a playground.
Nice.
And Jimmy DiResta's shop is not too far from me. It's like about 2.5 hours.
All right. In what, the upstate shop? He has like 2, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not too far from the city. It's on the Catskill.
Okay, yeah.
2.5 hours from the city.
Nice.
So again, you come and visit your sister, we can do the hike up there.
Hey, let's do it.
That'll be dope.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so you come in that intersection of my life that I found the Jimmy DiResta and this whole maker community. And at the same time comes this dude who is playing drums, but is making things out of nowhere. And that blew my mind.
Yeah. And honestly, like that community is kind of what like motivated, or not motivated me, but like inspired me to kind of like post those kinds of videos because, I was into like the woodworking kind of stuff and I was like, okay, like I build these shelves and these tables and whatever, but it's all stuff that like everyone's seen before. And there's guys like Jimmy, for example, that do it 1,000 times better. So like, what's the point of me like flexing my creative muscles, making these things that everyone else is making, right? And I like kind of had this like epiphany moment where I was like, well, wait a minute, like drums are made out of wood. I can, cut them up and, make my own projects with drums. So it kind of started with that, just cutting up drums and like turning a tom into a snare or a bass drum into like a little pancake thing.
Right, like a pancake.
Yeah, or like a gong drum or something. And then from there, it kind of just expanded into like other stuff, like the more percussion-y stuff and cymbals and everything. So yeah, all the woodworking guys, I'm close with some of them. We talk occasionally, but
cool.
Yeah, those guys are a big inspiration for me. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I see your projects, and I didn't think about it until you did the Dromio series, and how you make a category for each project, like beginner, medium, and hard, depending on how handy you are. And some projects that come to my mind, which are kind of simple, but it's like the one that use like this wall wrap type thing, wallpaper to wrap a drum.
Yeah, the contact paper, whatever.
Hey,
yeah.
Like that seems simple, but if you find one that it looks somewhat legit, that gets the job done.
Yeah.
Fairly affordable, What other project? Like the one that you use the plaster for a bass drum head?
yeah. That's a signature of mine, I guess, because I'm always wearing flannel, apparently.
I was about to pull one out of the closet. Too hot today.
No, it definitely is. But yeah, every other podcast I've like been on, like, oh, bro, I'm wearing this flannel for you. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, and that's something I like don't even think about. Like, but again, it's like become part of my identity. Like my beard has. So I'm the flannel beard guy. So that plays drums.
For some reason, flannel and woodworking, they go hand by hand. When I was at some point in life, I was co-teaching a wood shop section. I live in Illinois at that time. And then I noticed like, oh shit, like I'm wearing flannels and plaid shirts all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. I love the smell of a wood shop. I hate sanding.
Yeah.
But other than that, the process, and any of you who had never got hand-on building a drum, it's an experience that you cannot explain.
Yeah, it's something else. And that's, one thing I try and like, push with my channel. And I kind of like showcases like drums are, they're not as complex as you think. And like, sure, if you were to like start with nothing and build a drum from scratch would be kind of difficult, but taking a drum that you have and like modifying it is a good way to get into it. And actually, I was actually watching a video today. Actually, I was trying to I was watching my sticker bomb video with a snare, and I saw all these other videos of people doing that kind of stuff. And there's this one I was watching. It was like, I've never taken a drum apart before, but like I was watching, Dave's video on the sticker bomb thing. I thought I'd give it a shot, and just like hearing that's like dang, you've never taken a drum apart, like, and the fact that you've watched my video and I inspired you to do that, as lame as that sounds, it's like really like heartwarming to see, because it's getting more people in the shop or to mess with their drums, and you do one thing and it's like, oh well, I did this, now I can do something else. So yeah,
I mean, just like the one you did, like hand hammering that snare drum.
The snare, yeah.
Like that's something. You can get a $30 metal snare drum on eBay or Craigslist or whatever, and just give it a try.
Yeah.
And then if you like that sound, then you can go to any legit manufacturer like the Thomas or the Sonar that does the hand hammer, and then get one of them if you're into that.
Yeah,
it's like a good entryway too.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like sure, the like my hand hammered snare isn't gonna compare to like the Tama whatever hand hammered snare, but this is like the kind of stuff that like everyone's thinking, but no one's actually gonna do. So I'm like, oh shit, let me try it. I got a hammer, I got a snare. Let me see what happens.
I mean, you even set up a nice hammering station. At this point, you have done such many hammering that you have like a dumbbell that you cut one of the weights and stick it into a log.
Yeah. It's my my bootleg anvil.
So tell me this is kind of interesting. You are being amazing at creating partnership with Z Sounds and Sweetwater, but never had a legit endorsement or out saying I'm a ex artist. Is there a reason for that?
Partially. I do endorse a few companies. Actually, I just signed with Vic Firth. Actually, I haven't officially announced that. So
congrats.
Listeners,
I'm a big guy too. Congrats, man.
Nice, yeah.
Awesome.
So I endorse Vic and host a technology cable. So like my cables, all cables and whatnot, which that kind of stuff.
Ooh, my battery died. I'm still listening, but my battery died.
Oh, you're good.
The batteries.
But yeah, as far as like drums go and cymbals, that kind of stuff, I've been approached by one drum company. They're like, hey, we want you to sign and be an artist. But it's like, okay, that's cool and all, but I like show too many different drums for it to like make sense. And if we could work it out somehow so that I could show other drums and like even promote other drums, then maybe I would consider it. But never has the never have those terms like lined up with what I would want, and
right.
and in a way, people like all my friends, we joke about all the time, like, oh, I endorse everyone because like this Pearl kit behind me, this is the first time I've played a Pearl kit, but I'm finding ways to like get other drums, as weird as that sounds, right? And on top of that, I have too many other drums, so I don't need any more, really.
No, and you have a great collection. I think these days, especially drum endorsements, and if you are a touring musician, that makes a lot of sense because that gives you the network that if you're in different cities, you can get the gear that you use. But in your case, because you showcase so many products and so many modifications, that makes sense. And to me, it shows that you care more of your content and what you represent than just being in someone's roster. And it's something like that happened. We did an episode with Mike Dawson, and he kind of touched base on that. Like, well, I have to be as neutral as possible, and I decided not to endorse any particular brand and just be on my own, even though I have access to all this gear.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And and like with my channel, and every time I meet like another YouTube drummer, they're like, bro, like how do endorsements work for you? I'm like, they don't. I mean, certain ones do, and like the companies I am with like are incredible, and like even like the handshake kind of agreements with like with Earthworks, for example. They're like, oh, hey, check out the stuff. If you like it, use it. It's like, all right, cool. And if I like it, obviously I'll, promote it and talk about it. But at the same time, there's been companies that have sent me stuff and I'm like, this is garbage. Like, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to say that it's bad because it's still, bringing light to this, product. So it's, I don't know. It's like a weird area for me to be in. And honestly, just being, where I am is like incredible to me. Like I never thought my channel would get, this far, to be honest. So
how many subs you had right now?
215,000, I think.
What?
Right around there.
I'm gonna say this in Spanish. Si me dice Corillo, si no siguen a David Raúl, síganlo. Voy a poner abajo el link en la descripción. Síganlo. I just tell them to follow you.
Sweet. So many people, I get not questions, but comments saying like, bro, you need to like have Spanish subtitles. And like, I need to find someone that can like do this for me.
Right.
So
it's ironic. It's ironic because for some reason I end up doing more interviews for, English speaker drummers. And some other person like, yo, they're cool. Can you get some subtitles? Like, oh shit. So it's so tedious just to do a transcription of all this conversation.
Oh, I can only imagine. I took like 4 semesters of Spanish and like I don't remember anything, but those were probably like the hardest like classes I ever took. I'm horrible at English, and learning another language was just like a mind blowing experience.
It don't matter. It's all good. Now let me ask you this, and if this is a topic that I'm wrong, just correct me on this.
Okay.
But for what I follow you on social media, I definitely subscribe to your YouTube channel, which is killer. But to me, it feels like you show that not being a professional, like a 24/7 musician, shows that it is okay not to be a 24/7 musician. You know what I mean? Is your 9 to 5 a music-related job?
Oh, no. It's a carpentry job, honestly.
Right. So that's where I'm going, right? Because there's a bunch of people that I see like, oh yeah, it's easy to do this YouTube thing because you're playing drums all day, like Mike Johnson, and Mike is great.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be Mike Johnson in order to have a successful drumming career. And you're showing that no, you can have a different 9 to 5 and then still be an incredible drummer and produce great content.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the one thing I've kind of noticed with like the YouTube drummer side of things is the guys that are doing the internet thing full time, YouTube is kind of just like their side thing, right? And their main focus, their main bread getting device is their websites doing lessons and courses and that kind of stuff. And I thought like when I first started my channel, I was like, should I do like these drum courses and like learn how to play drums, and I'm this teacher that can teach you how to do this. But it's like, I mean, everyone else is doing that. And again, like there's guys out there that are doing it so much better than me. So like, I'm like, what's the point? So I have been trying to find like a way to take that route of like courses and like selling plans, for example, or, that kind of stuff. But by the end of the day, it's still like, okay, I have this it's not even a 9 to 5, it's a 6:33, which makes it possible to
that sounds like teaching. That sounds like teaching.
Yeah. So I have a steady job, I have a steady income, and like I bought this house, I rely on that income. Right. Could I survive on just YouTube and like all my internet eggs? Like probably, but you get used to like a certain amount of income per month.
Definitely.
Like how could I survive, without that? It's possible, but you get to a certain point where you're still comfortable that if it was to go away, it's like, oh shit, like what do I do?
Right. Yeah, I mean we're in crazy times. The business is changing. The relationship with brands and partnerships are changing. It's just, I mean, again, I'm a big guy, and I got an email on Friday regarding, some AR people that are no longer with the company. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. No, I agree with you. I keep my 9 to 5. I mean, more like 7:30 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 7:45 to 3. And that's good, right? That gives me the peace of mind that I know that I'll be able to pay for this place, to have my health insurance, to be able to get one of these every here and there.
Right.
And oh shit, well, okay, it's not gonna pour. And that, yeah, dig it.
Yeah.
Now, here's another thing that makes you different. You make your own loops, and you make your sampling. And like you have a very particular setup to make samples. Can you talk about it?
Yeah. I've recently though I have kind of switched my music to there's like this royalty-free site that I find music from, but I still try and go with the same type of music. But as far as sampling, my setup has changed a little bit, but I have a turntable for sampling vinyl and like whatever. And then I run that into Logic, and then I cut up those samples, and then I use a MIDI keyboard to, chop it up and replay it and, time stretch it, all that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, if say I want to add, bass to it or some other, instrument, I have the MIDI keyboard right here, and I can, use it for that too. While in like the old days, they would, cut up vinyl on like an MPC, and it was all like analog gear, which I kind of dove into that a little bit in my early days, but I was like, this is like way too confusing. I'm so used to my computer and this and that,
Right.
that I was like, I bought an MPC. It was used at Guitar Center. I made like 2 beats on it. I was like, all right, that was cool, but I've had enough of this, and then sold it back to them. So yeah, that's my setup. And honestly, I really haven't had the time to make any fresh music, which is why I switched to using the royalty-free stuff.
All right. Okay. So has it changed much since you did the desk build?
Yeah, the turntable is definitely gone. Again, I've kind of moved on from sampling. And I mean, I still have a turntable, but it's like in a drawer. It's like really low and really inconvenient to use.
Okay.
And honestly, I put that as like, all right, I have a space for this. I have a spot for it now. Like, I have it hooked up to my interface. I can easily listen to a record if I want.
Right.
But still, I'm like, I'm just going on Spotify and like find something. It's like too much of a hassle to like dig through my crates and let's listen to this. So
yeah, I have a few vinyls here, and one of my favorite drummers, his name is Henry Cole, killer jazz drummer and Afrobeat stuff. He posted a vinyl the other day on Instagram. It's like, oh shit, I had that vinyl. So I had to go and dig through it and share it to him. Like, yo, I do have the same one.
Yeah.
But it's very rare. Maybe like on a Sunday evening that I go and catch one and play it. Actually, because we moved the record players on the storage unit. So
yeah.
So, but you're right. Now, changing switch here for a second. What is the craziest drum set that you have gotten?
Define crazy.
You got crazy shit.
Craziest. Let's see. I mean, all is basic, or I'm not basic, but I don't know. All my kits are like, they're cool, but I don't think any of them are like crazy. I mean, crazy in the sense of like those North drums with the weird tubes and the open horn shape.
Yeah, the one that you posted the other day.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't have anything crazy like that, but as far as like crazy deals, I've found a bunch of Gretches recently, a bunch of round badges. One is a progressive jazz model, so 12, 14, 16, for $100, but they're spray painted black. Yeah, right.
Come on, man. And how many acrylites have you found in those weird deals?
I think I've owned 6 acrylites in my life now.
Actually, I got an acrylite because I saw it in your video. It's like, I think I can get my hand in one of those. And I was fishing on Goodwill for a minute, and I found one, like for $50 or something.
Yeah, they're out there and they're great drums. Speaking of acrylites, here's a crazy drum. So down the street from me, of all places, a guy was selling an old Tama Imperial Star drum set. So it was like a big concert tom drum set with 13, 14, 16, or 18, and then like a 24-inch kick. You know, the type of drum set that like no one wants. You know, no one plays those drums anymore. And it was like a fair price. It was like $500, and it came with like a snare, you know, stand, cymbals, throne, everything. So a lot of guys, you know, they don't need everything. So this thing sat on Craigslist for like a month, and I was like, I should buy this thing. So I looked closer at the photos, and they were really bad photos, by the way. And I saw the snare. I was like, I knew it was an acrylite, but I like looked closer. Like something doesn't seem right about this drum. I think it might have 10 lugs. So I was like, does it? I can't tell. So I hit the guy up, and again, it turns out he was down the street. So I go there. I ended up buying the kit, and it was a 10 lug acrylite. So I'm like,
what?
This is rare shit. I mean, not super rare. They exist, obviously, but I bought the kit that was sitting on Craigslist, by the way, for a month. That anyone else
for the snare.
Yeah, and anyone else could have easily got the kit, but I get it, and then I sell the kit, I sell the cymbals, I sell all the stuff, I make money, and I keep the snare, right? So it's like I got this thing for free, basically.
I mean, you got paid to get that thing.
Exactly. Yeah, and then like I posted the kit, just the kit for sale on Craigslist, like a month later, and I got, you know, messages and emails from people like, oh, did you buy that kit from the guy on Craigslist? Would you sell the snare? Because right, I'm like, not that one. I have another acrylite I'd sell, and like it was like 3 or 4 guys that emailed me. I'm like you easily could have just went and bought this thing and got it for free. So,
wow. How about that box kit that you had like a few weeks ago?
Yeah, I still have it actually. So I guess there's a crazy drum set. Yeah, that was a fun one. I ever since I saw they released it this past year, 2 years ago at NAMM, I was like, I need this, because I've, you know, obviously been looking for an old Trixon kit or even the old Vox ones from, you know, the 60s, and they never pop up, and when they do, they're like, you know, really expensive. So when I saw that, I was like, I definitely like need to play this kit, even if like I don't care if, you know, I buy the kit, you know, if I have to buy the kit, right? But thankfully, I was able to get in contact with Vox, or Korg rather, and they were super cool about, you know, originally I was going to borrow the kit and do some videos with it, but they're like, dude, you went so, you know, above and beyond what you thought you would with the videos, like just keep it. So I'm like, all right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But yeah, it's I say this in like every video, but I had like no idea what to expect with that kit.
Right.
It's a killer little drum set, and the bass drum, of course, everyone's like, oh my god, like what is that going to sound?
That's something that you can put in your living room as even though you will play it, just
right.
like crazy rich people have a grand piano in their entrance. You can have that little box over there, like, yeah, this is mine.
Yeah, and I was thinking that. I was like, well, I have room in my living room. I could just, you know, set it up as a display piece. So I might do that, because my closet over there is kind of exploding right now. So I need more space. Yeah, that's it was a really cool kit, and they're alder shells, and the depths are like not, you know, very standard. But they sound great. I love that kit.
Are you gonna mod it, or are you gonna keep it?
I'll probably keep it how it is. I thought about when they said like, oh, you can keep it, I was like, should I cut a bass drum porthole in this thing? I was like, probably not.
I mean, I was thinking more of cutting a rabbit
right
in the middle of the bass drum, and then put the you know, like a piece of wood, so you can have the 2 bass drums sound like the old school one. Yeah,
I didn't even think about that. I'm sure there's a way to like do it without cutting a rabbit, and like finding a way to like wedge it in or something.
Right.
So yeah, that would be an interesting project.
I don't know. I'm saying if you make money doing that, I gave you the idea.
Yeah, or you could produce them and then we sell them. to all the
Yeah.
rock.
Did I tell you I live in the Bronx and there's no space here to produce anything?
That's a good point.
Because I'm quite handy, you know. I have done my fair share of woodworking if I had the space. I was even looking for like maker space around here. There's nothing. There's
Really?
nothing.
Wow.
I ended up going to 3D printing just to kill that, you know, that urge of making stuff and learning, which I'm still learning, like Fusion 360.
Yeah.
And the first project I did, I had a battery charger for this camera. This is like a GoPro clone type thing, and I have a charger for an old point and shoot that I have, and my daughter plays with it. She actually has a good eye for the camera. And then I have my 4K camera, and I have all those chargers flying around. It's like no. And my first project was to go to Fusion 360, and I got a caliper because Harbor Freight is lit. And I was able to make a model and 3D print a box will fit all the 3 chargers with the holes and everything.
Nice.
So that's the only way that I can kill that maker's edge, because unfortunately in the Bronx, it ain't happening.
Yeah, no, I didn't even think about that. And you brought that up. You did that to to get your fix basically. And I was trying to think too, because when I was at my old spot, I was at my mom's house. My studio was there. It was half of her garage, a 2-car garage, and I was looking for houses. And I was like, I knew my budget. I started looking at houses, and everything was just way too small. There was like, the studio would have been like a quarter of this size, and like there's no garages. I told my realtor, I was like, look, I need a garage. And she found all these houses with like little tiny sheds. I'm like, I need like an actual garage. Like, you don't understand. And for a while, I was like, man, like, I don't know if I'll be able to find anything, right? So I was trying to think like, okay, well, if I did have to stop this and I had to live in an apartment or whatever the case would be, like, what would I do? Like, how would I go on with this? So yeah, a lot of people bring up like 3D printing to me, or even like CNC kind of stuff, which I guess isn't a contained small activity, but
yeah.
But no, I definitely think that 3D printing would be something cool to get into, and especially with drums. That's the thing with me, is like I'm trying to think like, okay, well, how could I use this on a drum set? So if you have any ideas, I'm all ears.
I mean, I've been prototyping 3D printed drum keys.
Okay.
You know, to start there.
Yeah.
And I haven't found a way to make it consistent. The strength, I think I got a hang of it, because there are different filaments that are stronger than others. But just to get a consistent shape, that's what I'm still working on.
Yeah.
So as soon as I have something that I feel confident that this will do the work, I will send you a few.
Definitely, yeah. I just forgot what I was about to say. But no, like the finickiness of like 3D printing and like even like Fusion 360 and like all these modeling softwares, like I have zero patience for that kind of stuff. So I respect all the stuff you're doing.
I mean, it took me about 6 to 8 hours, like 2 hours a night or something. And my brother is very, very good at Fusion. And after I finished the project, I talked to him. It's like, yo, I did this. Like, I'm super proud. And he's like, give me the measurements. I need a box this size. I need a box this size. Like, bang, here's the file. It's like, come on, man.
Do you watch NYCNC on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of Fusion videos. Because I tried to get into it for a second, but I was like, this is too much for me.
There's a, and I can, for those of you who are drummers and think that we're getting out of topic, this is important for you, because these are things that you can do yourself to make drum stuff and drum related stuff.
Yeah.
I found this video the other day from this guy called Jeremy Fielding, and he did a automated table saw.
I saw that, yeah.
So it had a, what is it called, that reader, a DRS?
Yeah, DRO, digital reader.
DRO, there you go. So he put a DRO into a table saw and automated, the blade, the angle, the fence, and I was like, what the fuck?
Right.
And I'm still struggling to do boxes in Fusion 360. But
right.
It is what it is.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of smart guys out there, and that's the beauty of YouTube is like you see all this stuff. It's like, oh, I never would have thought about that, and they're like the ones that are really pushing, this craft in like the hobbyist kind of projects. So yeah.
Are there any like Jimmy DiResta kind of guy in the drum world that inspire you?
I'm trying to think. Well, see, there's a bunch of guys that are people in company that make these unique things by hand, whether it be like cymbals or like upcycled percussion, for example. They do those like rattles and shakers with like bottle caps and random stuff. But seeing all of that stuff is like super inspiring, and like they've kind of found their niche, like their product. And I don't know if you heard of Greg Keplinger, I think is how you say it. He does a lot.
Yeah, the Keplinger, like, isn't he in Nashville or something?
I think maybe I honestly don't know, but
yeah, I know the Keplinger stuff.
Yeah, so like the stuff he does, and like the stainless steel like ride cymbals he makes, and like Lance Campo. I don't know if you follow him on YouTube.
No, I don't.
He does a lot of like cymbal modification stuff. But yeah, there aren't very many that really post about it, and if they do, it's like their focus is on their company making this stuff, not so much.
Right.
Let me show you how to make this kind of stuff, So as far as in the drum community, I really don't know of many.
Okay. Is there any project that you would like to tackle? And right now you're not like, you don't have the equipment or something. Like I have one. I don't know if it's the same as yours, but go.
I think for me it's more like I'm trying to think. I don't really know. Well, I want to build like this isn't even a drum related thing, so I'm not gonna bring it up. But
oh, hit it.
No, I want to build. I have a little bit of land behind my house, and I want to build like a legit studio. Not like legit, but like something better than this, right?
Right.
So
money. It sounds amazing.
Thank you. But it has its quirks, and it's like smaller than it looks, and on camera.
Do you want to go like Ash Someone's like round,
like a windmill? Yeah.
Windmill, yeah.
I just want something bigger, and from being at my old spot, I knew like, okay, like space is an issue, but I found like ways to maximize that space, right? And then same thing here. When I moved in, I was like, okay, I know I can do this. And then even now, just from being in the space and being in a smaller space, I know of like, oh, well, routing cables like on the ceiling and mounting stuff on the ceiling and getting rid of stains and that kind of stuff. You like learn so much. And even now where I think like, okay, I'm finally done, like I can just use the studio, but still it's like, there's so many things that I could improve on. So yeah, having like
because eventually you did like a Studio 2.0, right, where you change the blankets on the wall, and redid your desk.
Yeah, I did the floor, new floors.
Yeah, that's right.
The accent wall, a little bit of painting, all the trim, the ceiling, a bunch of stuff. But yeah, there's two videos on that, I think, or two or three.
I'll link them down below for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's one project I plan to do at some point is build a studio, a detached studio from my house, or just find like a big warehouse or some shit and like convert it and have a workshop studio combo thing. I don't know.
And go all Jimmy DiResta stuff.
Yeah. But as far as like drum projects, I started my channel and doing these projects with these cheaper drums, like to learn about drums, like I cut a tom in half to turn it into a snare. Like, okay, doing that, I have to route bearing edges, and I learned about routing bearing edges and doing snare beds and lug layout and this and that and staining and wrapping and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of just fell in love with that, doing that kind of stuff, and my goal was to practice on the cheaper drums and kind of figure out what I was doing, and then get into like legit drum making and like build like stave snares and all this stuff. So building a stave snare is definitely on the list. and I'm kind of surprised I haven't tackled it yet.
Because you have your shop.
Right, and that's the thing. It's like I could easily like go out right now and start, building one.
Right.
But I had this. I don't even call it a problem, but like I'll think through a project and be like, okay, I need this, I need that. Okay, I have that. If I buy this, I can start on this, and then I'll get to like one point, like, oh well, how would I do this, step of the project, and then I kind of just forget about it, and then as time goes on, I'll be like driving around somewhere or just farting around the studio, and oh, well, what if I did it this way? And then that sparks that that creativity again, and that motivation to like jump on that project. So a lot of stuff you see on my videos is like ideas I've had years before, but I didn't know how to do a certain step. And then finally one day it's like, oh shit, if I do this, I can make this thing. So then that sparks the video. It's like, okay, let me start on this immediately, and then there's the video, right? So yeah, I kind of rambled on. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
No. It makes sense. I mean, it is like that problem solving. Like my dream job, my dream build is to make a safe. I mean, not a safe, a steam bed. How am I going to find a place where I can, soak in steam a piece of wood that I can round it and get the proper clamping? Like right now, that is not accessible. Or I don't have the technique, because you have to do like a bevel on each end that when you round it meet each other. Mm-hmm. That's out of my skill level. So what you're saying right now, it makes total sense.
For sure, yeah.
And then, but what I see that your focus is going is, or your creativity is going, is like, well, I find this piece of kit, which is what you mentioned before. I found this kit. How can I flip it so I can get to this other project? And that goes to your what is it, Reverb? You have a store of Reverb?
Yeah, I kind of dove into Reverb like super hard this beginning of this year, just because I had so much junk. And the local classifieds, like people want stuff for like so cheap, and like you'll list a snare drum for $100 that's easily worth $100, and like, oh, we take $20 for it, and people are so flaky, and it's just annoying to deal with. So I started selling on Reverb, which that kind of consumed my like life for a minute, because I was so obsessed with like listing stuff and like, oh my god, I have this random bass drum beat, let me sell it. So yeah, Reverb was it's fun, and I kind of stepped away from it a little bit, but I have more junk now, so it's like, oh, let me start listing stuff.
So you're gonna do a Reverb 2.0.
Yeah, right. And I'm sure you saw I did that little like buying and selling vlog thing.
Those were super cool. They were actually really cool. And they covered like a month worth of time at some point.
Yeah, I was like super stoked on that in the beginning. And there's this dude on YouTube that does like guitar stuff, like vintage guitar reviews and unboxings and all that stuff. So I was kind of inspired by him. And I was like, oh, well, people watch this with like guitars, and try it with drums. And it's something I've wanted to do for a while. But every time I would go and buy something off Craigslist, be like, oh, I'll do it next time. And then it'll be next time, like, oh, I'll do it the next time. And then I never did it. So then finally I was like, oh, I'm going to buy these drums. Let me just film it real quick. I'll film it for a month and then see what happens. And my plan was to do that series for a year, but I kind of gave up on it already. Because I don't know, it was cool at first, and then I realized I was focusing more on the video, and I was like buying stuff just to I can show this in the video, right? And then, like I said, I just have too much junk now, so it's kind of like overflowing.
Did you get? And I don't want to get into details. I know. Did you get? Was the traffic performing way better or way below your normal modification type of video?
It was, some of them, kind of, I wouldn't say they blew up, but some of them did good. Some of them were kind of not so good. And, in the beginning, like I said, I think it was the same with a lot of the viewers, was like, oh, wow, this new series, this is cool. And it was the same thing with me, like, oh, it's a new series, this is awesome. And then as I kind of did it more and more, I'm like, okay, this is, whatever. Like this, I've exhausted my creativity with this series, and it's kind of just like, oh, I bought this thing, oh, I sold this thing, oh, I bought this other thing. I kind of just got boring for me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm very fascinated with this whole YouTube algorithm and how it works and how you get clickbait and all that thing. So now, I was wondering how they were performing compared to your regular build or your regular review, because I did like that series. I really enjoyed it because it was like little blurbs, like, okay, today is Saturday and I'm going to drive 2 hours to get this drum.
Yeah.
Okay, I got this drum, but I cannot show it to you. Okay, here's a set of logs and boom, $10 more. I don't know, like that kind of thing. And I really like that. Cut. Next.
Yeah, and that's one thing I kind of liked is like it was super easy to edit, and the watchability was like really simple. It's like for like not to like hit on that guitar guy, but like he'll like drag on for a minute. It's like, okay, we got it. Like we've seen it. You talked about it. We don't need to hear like the 10-hour backstory about this thing, right? And that's how I like my videos too. Is like I'm always skipping forward on videos. It's like you like just show me what you're about to show me, right? But yeah, they performed about average, I guess, and it wasn't like I wasn't expecting it to like blow up or anything. I kind of just was like, oh, well, this is easy. Let me just make some of these videos, and it will kind of buy me time for the bigger projects, you know.
Of course, yeah.
So
because that's what people don't get sometimes about YouTube. Like they take time to edit a video. Like even this, what I'm doing right now, and this is fairly easy. I have to do an intro. I put the bumper, and then I dump this. But to dump this, I have to make sure that the levels are correct and do a little EQ on the voices. That takes quite a few hours. I mean, when you do your unboxings, when you do your like, if you do like, who was it? Not long ago, you did like a cymbal modification.
Mm-hmm.
So you recorded the cymbal before, you recorded the cymbal after, and then you have to make sure that you're playing exactly the same parts, so you can put the before and after. Like that takes a lot of work.
Yeah. It can be a lot, and people always ask like, well, what's like your process for making a video? And I tell them, oh, I kind of just like do it in stages. I'll like, you know, film a little bit, then edit a little bit, and then film a little bit, and then edit. With most people, they film the whole thing and then edit it all at once. But for me, like that's a lot of footage, and it's so like easy to get like, you know, flustered.
And still you're doing process stuff. Because what was it that you were rusting a cymbal or something like that?
Yeah.
That takes, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes while you do each wash. Like that takes, it's like going back to the process that I hate the most, sanding. like how else can I show you that I'm like sanding? Yeah. I can show you different sanders. I can show you a quarter, or I can run the orbital, or I can get me a Festool, and those are nice. I don't have a Festool though.
I don't either, so. Yeah, that one, like the editing for that, for example, I recorded. But first of all, I had to find a backing track to play to. So I'm like, all right, I found this track, and then I was trying to think like, okay, how am I gonna demo all three of these cowbells at once?
Yeah, what's a cowbell? My fault. Yeah, the cowbell.
Yeah, and or even the cymbal one, for example, even without. But like the cowbells, I was like, okay, here it is.
By the way, and sorry to cut you off. Something that a lot of people don't get. Your thumbnail for that video was killer.
Thank you.
You managed to put it on the same spot all the 3 times. That's super hard, and people don't get it. The people that get like, oh, you know, no. To get that thumbnail, I bet it took you a few hours.
Oh, the thumbnail, that honestly, I was kind of, that looks good. And then I kind of manipulated it in the in Photoshop, but yeah. But to like film it is like, okay, I found the track. Okay, now I need to edit this track to make it make sense, because I did that little solo section. I thought, okay, the solo section will be a good time to do the comparison, right? Because we don't need a 10-minute version of the full song with each cowbell, you know? So I'll do a quick solo section with each version. So I cut up the track, made the solo section, recorded the before or the stock cowbell, and then I went out in the garage, stripped off the paint, filmed all that. Then I came back in the studio, recorded that. I was like, okay, this is good. Got the photo, because you can't forget to get the
Of course.
photo. And then go back out to the garage, do the rust thing or the brass thing, which kind of failed.
Yeah.
But then do all that. Once that's done, film all that, and then come back and then film the whole track. And then so all at the same time. I did that all within like one day. So I left the cameras in the same spot, so it was the same in the video.
Right. So let me get this clear. You got that video from Skull and Spades, that technique?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What's his name? Brett,
I think.
Yeah, Brett. Yeah, he used to, again, Dios mío. I feel this episode is about the Resta. He used to work for the Resta.
Yeah. But yeah, it was what is it? Homemade Modern. I don't know if you watched them.
Yeah.
They did.
His name, Ben Ueda?
Yeah, Ben Ueda. He did a video on that technique, and then
with the dumbbells. Yeah.
So even though I'd seen Brett do it on his channel and all his projects, I'm like, it never like clicked until I saw Ben. It was like, oh, I can do this to a cowbell, right?
Okay, I'm gonna send this to. I don't know if they will ever watch it, but I'm gonna send them this clip to see if they can give us a shout out. The podcast is good, by the way. What is it called? Homemade Modern Podcast or something like that?
I'm so out of the loop with podcasts, to be honest.
You're not into the podcast loop?
No. When I was in like middle school, I listened to a podcast, and then I kind of grew out of it, and then podcasts kind of blew back up, like nowadays. And I never got back into them, to be honest.
Podcast. Yeah. I mean, I think I replaced a lot of music for podcasts.
Right.
At this point, especially when I'm doing like repetitive activities. Like last week, I was putting together an IKEA dresser. Like there's no way that I could have done that with music. I needed something just talking to the back of my head so I can do the same process 8 times. Drawers. I hate putting drawers together. Now I understand why Maker says that making drawers sucks.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, man, it's been a pleasure. I had so much fun having this conversation. If you don't follow David, I'm going to drop all these links down below. Check out the Drumeo series also, talking about modding drums and different things that you can do to your drums to make it better. Ooh, the one that you cut the hi-hat, the tube to make it lighter. That was a good one.
Yeah.
That's a serious commitment, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching. See you next time. Peace.